Elon has made some pretty stark political statements. You could even say political threats. And he just issued a statement about the big, beautiful bill saying every member of Congress who campaigned on reducing government spending and then immediately voted for the biggest debt increase in history should hang their heads in shame. And they will lose their primary next year if it's the last thing I do on earth.
He also had another tweet where he said, if this insane spending bill passes, the America Party will be formed the next day. Our country needs an alternative to the Democrat-Republican Uni Party so that the people can actually have a voice.
Saying, hey, if the big, beautiful bill passes, which it does look like it may pass,
Breaking news,
no, never mind.
It just did. 51-50 with Vice President Vance casting that tie-breaking vote. So 101 votes for those of you doing simple math. That's because the vice president stepped in to cast the tie-breaking vote.
What is it that Elon can even do? I saw a comment on YouTube. Well, I can tell you what he do. He's got a lot of money, a ton of money, the most money. So he can primary pretty much anybody he wants to. Now, that doesn't mean it's successful. He also is vowing to launch, I guess it would be tomorrow, the America Party, which would be a third party. Now, historically, I'm going to give a little bit of grace to Elon Musk because I think he's done things that have bucked the system and changed the world. Tesla, SpaceX, a lot of things like that, PayPal, eBay, all the concepts that he really was a part of or even created. Historically, creating a third party is a disaster in terms of never really taking off. You don't understand the machine behind it, and the machine behind the Republican Democrat Party is so huge, it goes well beyond one person's individual wealth. Now, again, never say never. And I never say never to someone like Elon Musk. Here's the problem. He is certainly going to siphon people who are more conservatives because I believe him, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, that group of what we said were kind of the Avengers group that came in. Maybe you call them the UFC group that came in. I believe they are largely responsible for President Trump winning his second term as handily as he did.
In a congressional race, it would be a lot easier for you to start to make some waves and get candidates elected. We have third-party candidates that are members of Congress, of the Senate, that are independents, as they don't have a natural caucus within the Republican and Democrat system, but they can get elected. So could that also be different? It's someone with a lot of money. When you start pouring millions of dollars into individual congressional races, that actually can start to make a difference in those races. Then can you start to build momentum and change the power structure of the United States Congress, and then you start to see an opening for the executive branch as well. If someone were to be able to do it, it would be that method as opposed to a third-party candidate wanting to lead a new party by running for president, which is historically how we've seen it happen. But if you have money to flood these local races, sometimes you could get somewhere different.
A lot of people are asking what happened to Elon. Why did he switch? There's the version probably that Donald Trump will tell you, probably a version he will tell you. He's saying it's because this is specifically what he was brought in to stop, would be something like this, a major spending bill. President Trump says it is because he is ending the EV mandate. I think it's probably somewhere in between there. And I actually think, and this is just my theory, my thought, I have no proof or evidence of this, is when you get inside that Washington machine, you realize how broken it is, and you realize that a single person cannot go do what they've been called to do because the system is bigger than them, and they will be squashed, unfortunately, if not held accountable.
You talk about not understanding the machine. This process is a bad process, right? Budget reconciliation is not really how the American public should work. This isn't how we should pass these type of things. But that is the tool that is necessary to get a lot of these things through.
The idea of a third party, fantastic. The implementation of a third party, I don't want to say it's impossible because, again, Elon Musk is the man who has done the impossible over and over again. But until, let's say today, it's just, especially on the presidential level, maybe like you said, on a Congress level, on a Senate level, on a House level, that's possible. Your local judges, whatever it may be, not judges, but local representatives. But on a presidential level, on a big picture level, it has been very difficult for anyone to get this off the ground. And it doesn't have to do with how much money you have. It really has to do with the power structure that's already set in place.
The closest we've seen to third-party movements in this country are the Tea Party. And obviously, this is recent history, not the entire history. There have been different political parties in the history. But modern history, third party, closest thing we've seen to it is like the Tea Party movement, which kind of revolutionized and actually was a very fiscally conservative-minded movement during the first term of President Obama. We also know that President Obama used the heavy hand of the IRS to try and shut that down, politically targeting his political enemies. The ACLJ fought that. That's in our 35 years of history, fighting for justice on that and making sure the IRS could never do that again. But you also have the MAGA movement, which was born out of that Tea Party vein, but different, and also bringing in an outsider. That is very much the closest two examples we've had to like a real third party chance at governing. And I think the issue, though, is that the Republican Party is a big tent party in practicality because it has elements of what would naturally be different political parties. You have old school Republicans that are big government in mind. You have old school Republicans that are fiscally conservative, and then you have
war-centered.
You have
anti-war,
and then you also have the more blue-collar element that has come in under MAGA. That is
union workers, stuff that's never really
things
been.
that have aligned more traditionally with historic Democrats in some ways, blue collar Rust Belt Democrats. So the Republican Party, that's another reason why it's also hard to get a lot of things done within the Congress, is because it is so diverse within the political ideology that falls under Republican.
Sure.
But if you fracture that, then you are handing Democrats, especially on the national ticket, victories, because people that still vote party will be fractured.
We can't undermine all the incredible work that Elon Musk has done, but he doesn't agree with him. Look, this was sort of the risk when you put non-Republicans in the Republican Party. And look, you could say that's a risk for when you're dealing with people like our former colleague, even Tulsi Gabbard, or you're dealing with RFK Jr.
Right.
These are not Republicans in the traditional sense. And yes, MAGA has moved beyond that, but that doesn't mean there's not a backbone of traditional Republicans that are still wanting the process to continue. And if you lose Elon and you lose some of these other names, then that changes aggressively back to the old days, if you will. And again, I'm not telling you whether that's good or bad. I'm just giving you the honest assessment.
And part of the problem, once again, is that there are more than half of Congress that don't want fiscal responsibility. Being a fiscal conservative, especially these days, is a rarity. And that is what attracted Elon to many of the conservative ideals. But he's also seeing the reality that when you have to get votes, the way our system works, right now it is nearly impossible to achieve balanced budget and real deficit reduction. There has to be a change of hearts and a change of people in Congress for that to really happen.
I'm saying it's
the president can want it, but cannot do it on his own, because who has the power of the purse? It's the Congress, not the president.